just found a new data source here for some coronavirus data, and I want to show what I do, how I take a look at this data and what I do with it. There's actually several things here, but this particular spot I'm going to look at right here is the world data, and it says here's where to download it at. You're over here, and here's you can download the data set, but it also says, where does it say this at? What it suggests. You read through it, but here it says stable URLs. This is a public path of the complete data set, and it said you could get it here. So I copy this data set here, open up a Jupyter Notebook, and here's the main resource I'm using. But here is the data set I put in here. I'm going to use requests, and I'm going to request that to be loaded by Python in Jupyter Notebook. The URL, and I pasted the name of it in there. So now I'm going to write data in. Data in is equal to, let's get a request get, and we'll get that URL. And that will give me the response right here. Now from that response, I want to get the data is equal to the response I don't know why I changed my uppercase on that. Equals data in text. I want to pull the text out of that response. Now at this point here, I probably can print and take a look at what that data is. Now when you do something like this, you have two different ways to work with your data. One is to keep it in memory, which is what will happen here. If I run this, then I get away from this. That's loading right now. Data will remain, that this right here will remain usable, even in another cell down here, and I don't have to click this again because the data will remain there. But I want to change the name of data so I don't contaminate my first term, my first one up here. So I'm going to go to lowercase and go to I'm going to go to lowercase, data equals data. That means if I do something with my data here that's not good, or I want to change it, I'll still have the original word data I can use. Now let's print this and see what we have. I have no idea. I've never looked at this one here. I just thought it would make a neat video to show how I explore this stuff. Now this looks like, well, let me look at the first line. The first line is the one that really tells what's going on. The very first line is the header. So here's the code, the location, the date, the total cases, new cases, total deaths, new deaths, and cases per million. There's a whole lot of facts, a lot of different facts listed in here. Now, be able to pull them out individually. We're going to try to strip lines. Let's use data. Okay, let's use lines. Lines equals data strip lines. And we're going to try to take right here and separate this line by line. And I think so if I write for line in lines, print the line. Now I'm going to throw a timer in here so that well, you want a counter. First of all, you want a counter so you can count yourself line by line. You start with count 0, and then let's put a timer in here. From timer, import sleep. Now what that'll do is, instead of just ripping off and printing a whole bunch of stuff out of my site, it'll go one by one and start going type, 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 and put that in. Now as soon as I get rid of my timer, it will print it all at once. So that's good. Let's go sleep. A half a second. Now we'll go to 1/4 of a second. Now watch happen when I print this line in here. Look, from time, not timer. From time, import sleep. Well, it whipped them right out. That's all one big line right now. It's not really stripping those lines. So every line, let's have it strip the lines and go, with every line go count equals count plus 1. Now we'll try to number each one of the lines to see if each one of these is separate or if it's one big long line. So we're going to put a counter in front every time it reads a line and print it. Oh, I'm still back up here and printing data. I can get rid of that print data. Okay, a string object has no, let's call it a string object. I think I have to call it a string. Let's call it a string. It's not liking what I'm doing there. I'm not sure why. Print data. Let's take and not, we'll not use strip lines. We'll take that and use oh, I don't want strip lines. Oh my God. I want split lines. I want to split it that line. I don't want to strip anything out of it. Lines equals data split lines. Okay, we're going to split that line. At the end of each line, we're going to split it. There we go. There we go. Now we're getting it one at a time. Okay, now we'll limit the amount of lines. We'll say if it's under 20 lines, what we can do is print spans of lines. We'll go if count is greater than 100 and count is less than 120, print the line. So this will print lines between 100 and 120. Maybe there's not that many lines. Or we're sleeping between every one. We can get rid of our sleeper now. We don't need to do that. In the beginning, it loads so much data. Let's stop this and I'll rerun that. There it goes, between line 100 and 119. Now, since it says there's countries in there, different countries, let's see what countries are in there. Let's copy this over again right here. See, again, now we have data. Now we have that file called data. We don't need to run this again. We've got that in our computer. So now we're going to go through the lines here. There are split lines for lines and lines. And let's say let's try something and go on. If Spain is in the line, if Spain in line, print the line. If Spain is in the line, print the line. Now we see we have data for Spain also. And if we look at it, by looking at it here, you see it's a day by day. The first day it starts with Spain is 12/31. And on 1/1, the very first day New Year, it starts with the record. And it goes up until today, which is 5/5. So this gives you a running history for that country, which is very neat. Now to pick out individual things in here, the individual items, you can do this. You say, okay, let's take this line. We'll copy this again, because I'm going to use it. This notebook will be in my GitHub. Remember, I'm exploring data I haven't seen before, so I'm not sure what I can pull out of here. Okay, let's have line. Line equals a line. Split. We're going to split it at commas. At a comma. What that means is it's going to take this line right here and split it into pieces. The first piece would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and on up. So we're going to split that line let's split that line. We don't want to split it yet. We can split it up there. We can split it there. And if we split it up on top, we can say if Spain is in column 1, 0, 1. If Spain is in line 1, print the line. Not defined, I put a comma, that should have been a period. And here, you see how it's broken into pieces with the commas in between? That means you can address each one of them individually. So I could say, let's print line, and then let's print date, which is 1, 2. That'd be column 2. So what we're going to do is we'll print Spain, which is the number 1. And we're going to print the 8, which is the second item. Remember, it starts at 0, 1, 2. And what this will do is print nothing but the date and the word Spain. And there you see it, Spain with nothing but the date. Now we've got all these zeros in here. This is really pretty neat. I haven't seen one of these on a country broken down into pieces like this. Not in this particular manner. There's a lot of information to glean out of here. So what you say is that in the beginning there's nothing. There's 0, 0, 0 in there on everything. So let's say that we want to see the first day, the very first day that there was a case. I'm going to go back and print that header again. I don't know why I took that header out. I should never have done that. So what we'll do, how we can do that is up here. So we have this as a reference. I go if count equals 0, if the count equals 0, put two equal marks in Python. If the count is equal to 0, print a line. What that does, if anybody's seen Python 2, you realize the one big difference is if you print with Python 3, it has to be enclosed in parentheses. In Python 2, it doesn't need to be. So if the count is 0, print the line. That will give me the header, the very first line, because I want to use that for a reference. And there it is. And you can separate if you want to do like a print. Let's just print a blank line. If count equals 0, we'll print a blank line too. That would get a little bit of a separation there. If count equals 0, also print a blank line. And see, you got a blank line to separate them apart. So let's go let's say we only want to see when the def starts. So there's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we go down here to 5, say print line 2, and let's print line 5. And that will be the depth. And see, we start with 0, 0, 0. So what we can do to see the first day is say if line 5 is greater than 0, and we might have to call that an integer. As a matter of fact, I'm almost sure we will. We'll have to call this, say, okay, line 5, we want it defined as an integer. Because right now I think it's a string. So let's call it an integer. Because you can't give a value, a number value to a string. So if the integer in line 5 is greater than 0, let's print that line. And that shows the very first death happened on 2020 March 5. So between March 5 and today's date, you see what happened in the deaths in Spain. So what you can do with this is outrageous. It's really outrageous because once you get the data, you can start making graphs, and some of the data will actually even show you latitudes and longitudes, and you can plot them on maps. I don't think this has a latitude and longitude. It may. No, I don't see it in there. But we'll show you the total cases, which is 0, 1, 2, 3. So we'll see how many cases they had before they had a death. So here we'll write line. 3. As soon as they had 200 cases, there was a death. 261, there were 3 deaths. And this can give you a nice correlation between the two of how many cases and how many deaths. Now, the only thing about the cases is not realistic. In the beginning, it looks really, really high, and it's because they don't test unless somebody is sick. Testing is a big, big thing with this coronavirus, and it has to be a random test, because if you're testing people that's already sick, it's not a test of the population. It's if you're feeling ill, this is what the chances are. And you notice if you're feeling ill and you wind up in a hospital, and especially in the very beginning, it looks very bad because people don't even know how to deal with it. There's no dealing. As you look towards the end, down in here, the numbers don't fit quite as close. Spain also has a large population of older people, but now we have this done. We can put anything we want to in here. As a matter of fact, you can do this. You can say, okay, let's get rid of this print data, and we're going to go SER search. A search equals input what country. So search equals what country. And we're going to go here and say if search is in the line, print all this out. So instead of filling in a country, we're going to write an input for a search. And now we'll run it. It says what country. Let's go Ecuador. Oh, did I spell Ecuador right? No. My God. That's too bad. France. Lines equals S. Why change? Somehow I erased that. I'll have to look at the video and know how I even did it, but I erased it. What did I do when I copy pasted? I did a pretty crummy copy paste there, didn't I? Data equals string data. What did I do here? This is terrible. I did a pretty crummy copy paste there, didn't I? So now we do the same thing with Spain. Whatever country we put in there now. Let's say their first case was on February 15. There was 11 cases and 1 death. And it remained at 1 death until they had 17, and then they had their second death. But any country you put in here now, you can see this. This is just an intro. This is a very first, how I take a peek at my data and see what's in here. And their first death was March 27th. and 2 people died on that day apparently. And we can run that again and write Mexico in there. The 21st of March was their first, and they're up to 2,000 people have died there. And they have 24,000 cases. Now I'm not sure, I'll do United States, but I'm not sure if it's US. US is usually what they do, but I might not even get an answer to that US no. Okay, where do I want to go? ASI. If search is inline 1, so let's go U and see if it will give me a clue on how to find US. United Kingdom. I'm looking for anything with a U in it to find out how to find United States. There's Uruguay, United States. It is the full word United States. So we can run this again. Paste. And I ran it up here. Whenever you do a run in a notebook, you have to hit enter. You can't click it. It won't work. And that's what I just did. I clicked it. You can paste it in, but I can't go up here and click run because that'll lock my notebook up. I've got at this point here, hit enter. And you see it was March 1st was our first death. And then it just jumped after that. It went really, really, really fast. It even has version islands in there. Now what I can do, we'll do one more thing just to show, and then I'm going to end this video and we'll go with another one. What I'm going to do is print this is line 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and 5. So let's go print line 5. And we'll do them side by side. If you do them side by side in Python 3, you have to put an end and say end equals, otherwise it will do one big column. End equals a space. And what this will do is put one number right after another. And let's do Philippines. I'm in the Philippines right now. And what that does, it prints it all on a line. Now you can take this data right here you have and say, okay, line 5, now I'm going to tie this in the next video. We'll make a quick, well, I can make a plotly graph really quick here. I might as well just do it. Okay, let's go x equals line 5, the integer of line 5. I should have put this in another. Let me put this one back like it was. Here it is printed out. Now we're going to take that and say x equals that integer and we're going to build a list. A list, let's call it def equals a blank list, an empty list. Now what we're going to do is go def, that blank list, we're going to append X. And we're putting that all into a list to deal with a list. That way you can actually start making graphs and stuff like that if you want to. So let's run that. And we'll stick with Philippines. Now, what I've got is a blank list. If I go in this and go print that list, print the whole list, I've got all those numbers in a list. If you see that little bracket, close bracket, open bracket, close bracket, that means that's all in the list. Now I'm going to go up here and I'm going to cheat because I've got this already written down somewhere. Let's see. Actually, I'm coming from another list. I wonder if how much hard it would be just to swap it over to that list. We'll make this like teasers of things that come. Oh, here's teasers of things that come. Here I said, okay, find Florida in the United States and print the cases in Florida. This is another program. Okay, data from another source. Let me put this in here. Let's paste that. And I haven't used that new file, so I'm not sure what will happen with the new file. This is an existing file though, so I can show you what's happening here, and then we'll get into this on the next video. This is kind of a teaser to say, hey, look what you can do and how I go about it. So let's run this, and I'm going to do Philippine. And what this will do is it'll take, I've got this one set up, but what it actually will do is look for the all countries. I don't know why I need all countries in there. That's something else I was working on. I did that so I could do this data and would save it into a list called all countries. That's where we begin. Now what it will do is draw not only one of the increase in deaths, but also as a day by day, whether it's an increase or an increase from the day before. And if you see here, it hit a peak. At this day there was a peak, and then it started going down here up from there, back down, and it bounces up and down a little bit. Right now, the last record of a death, if you put the mouse over it, says it was 16 deaths. Yesterday was 4, today 16. The day before, 11. So this shows how many people are dying per day. And of course, you want to see that drop down to where it's nothing, but if you drop down to where you're sticking at 1 or 2 a day, then you know you've really got it pretty much under control then. Hey, this is a movie. If you're interested, make a comment down there and say, hey, show me more. And I will go really overboard because I love this data and I've got a lot of things that I could demonstrate. Hey, thank you. Have a good day.